we're going to go over our pieces that we need. We have our back bodice piece, our 2 front side bodice pieces, 4 of our collars, 2 of our back collars, 2 sleeves, our collar piping, and our sleeve piping. We're going to start by matching up the sides of our collars. And we're making sure that they're right sides together, the wrong side should be out. We're just pinning in place. I'm going to move that one to the side, and I'm going to do the same thing with the other 2 collar pieces and back collar piece. I'm just going to pin in place, making sure everything lines up, right sides together. And then we're going to sew those parts. Next, we're going to line them up together and line up our seams on the inside of the collar. We're just going to pin around, making sure everything lines up. Still making sure right sides together. Now we're going to sew along that raw edge. Now that we're sewn, we're going to turn it right sides out. And this is what it should look like after turning it right side out. Now we're going to set that aside, and we're going to grab our bodice pieces. We're going to take our back bodice, then we're going to have our front bodice lined up right sides together, and we're going to attach the shoulders. We're going to clip them in place, and we're going to do the same thing to the other side. We're going to sew those shoulder seams. Now that they're sewn, we're going to set that aside. We're going to take our piping, and we're going to find our middle. If you have 2 pieces of piping, you're going to sew them together so you have 1 long piece. So I find my middle, and I'm going to find the middle of my bodice in the back, and I'm going to just line that up. And then I'm going to just slowly pin the piping around all the way to the edge. It's okay if you have a little bit of excess piping at the end. We'll clip that off later. If you're doing the make your own piping, it says cut 2 pieces. Make sure that you sew those 2 pieces together on the short side so you have 1 long piece, and then you're just going to fold in half and pin along. So now that we got our piping all clipped, we're going to take our collar and we're going to start lining the collar up. I'm going to pin my seams just so that it lays a little bit flatter. I'm going to find my center. And I'm going to pin that center to the back of the bodice. And then do the same thing, just slowly pin around. We're just going to make sure everything lines up. And now that everything's pinned, we're going to sew on our collar and piping. Now that we have our collar and piping sewn on, we're going to trim our edges. Making sure we don't have any excess piping hanging off. And now we're gonna top stitch our piping down. So now that we have it top stitched down, we're gonna add our sleeves on. I'm gonna find the center of my sleeve and line it up with the shoulder seam. I'm just gonna pin along the arm sky. And I'm going to do the same thing to the other sleeve. So now that we've got our sleeve sewn on, we're going to pin along our side seam. We're going to do the same thing to the other side. Pin along our side seam. Then we're going to sew our side seams. And now that our side seams are sewn, we're going to find our smaller piping and we're going to fold them right sides together and pin. We're going to sew along the raw edge. Now that it's sewn, we're going to fold it in half, wrong sides together. And we're going to grab our bodice again, and we're going to just put the piping just like a band, right sides together along the sleeve. We're going to do the same thing to the other side. Then we're going to sew our piping on. Now that we have our piping on, we're going to hem our bottom. We're going to fold it up 1/2 inch and pin. Along that bottom edge. Folding up 1/2 inch. And then you're going to top stitch however you want. I'm going to use my cover stitch. You can use a regular sewing machine with a zigzag stitch or a double needle, whatever you prefer. So now that we have it top stitched, we're going to go in and we're going to add our snaps. About every 2 inches, there should be 5 snaps. And there you have it, the Easton Jersey.